John Cena. Bah, bah, bah.
Oh my gosh.
John Cena is in China, and I told him that I'm going to rescue him. And he said he doesn't need rescuing. And I said, it's too late because I've already dug a hole and I'm on my way. And then he said, I'll buy you some dumplings when you arrive, is what he told me.
So is he trapped right now, or we're just assuming that they're not letting him leave?
I don't know. I think he's doing fine. I think he's having fun, but I don't know.
It sounds like he needs help.
He's been over there for a long time.
Mm.
All the guy does is he's living off of meal replacement powder
How come?
because that's just what he does. He's weird.
Oh, he just stays jacked.
Yeah, well, he has meal replacement powder. He eats like twice a day, and that's what he does. He doesn't have time. He ain't got time. He ain't got time for all these choices. Which kind of makes sense. You have the same thing every day. Doesn't blow your stomach apart. He probably trains in the morning, gets the shit out of the way, works all day, has a meal replacement, takes a giant shit, hangs out with some Chinese people, does some movie stuff, takes another poop, right? I don't know.
I feel
Has
like
some dumplings,
I feel like
takes a
I
dump.
could keep up with that,
Yeah, sounds like a good schedule.
especially if it's the same meal replacement stuff. Then by time like a couple weeks in, your stomach will be so used to it. If you have real food, you'll just get sick.
I know. I like protein shakes. I don't know. It's always been a route for me. Like I have a scoop of protein with every meal right now. Just easier than like trying to eat all that food all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it kind of blew me away after the show yesterday. I asked Charles, I'm like, hey, well, then what is whey protein?
Oh.
And he's like, that's just kind of stuff that they have no idea what to do with, so they make it into powder. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
all
they
right,
scrape.
cool,
Yeah,
thanks.
they scrape it off the top. I mean, they've been using it for other things for years, and you kind of heard of like eating curds and whey, right?
Yeah,
but nobody really knows what it is. Whey is not very palatable. It just doesn't taste very good.
Mm.
So people never really knew what to do with it, and
Mhm.
then somebody discovered that there's tons of amino acids and protein in it, and so they turned it into a supplement, I guess. Who knows?
What will they think of next?
Anyway, I was, as many people know, I'm always kind of searching for these different things of motivation, inspiration, education. I think education is the key to a lot of things. I think education is going to be the thing that helps cause the most amount of change. Inspiration, motivation can kind of spark you to go off in one direction. It can kind of put that first foot forward, but education is really crucial. So, like, I'll give you an example. Take my dad, for example. My dad was motivated and inspired by something I said, but also he used previous history and he used some education to come to the conclusion of, I need to get my ass in the gym.
Mm.
So I talked about consistency on this podcast, which we constantly talk about consistency on this podcast because it's the most important thing. If you don't develop consistency, it's going to be hard to get anywhere. If you do one great thing in one day, it's going to be hard to reproduce that. And it's going to be hard to turn it into anything. It's going to be hard to have any sort of accumulation. So we need to have consistency in order to lose weight. We need to have consistency in order to gain muscle. We need to have consistency in order to gain strength. We need to have consistency in order to gain wealth. We even need to have some consistency to develop ourselves enough to be able to handle anything that comes our way. So even if you were to just all of a sudden $2 million gets dumped on your head, that'd be fantastic. But if you're a bonehead, it might not really change your life because you're just going to buy like some cool ass car or truck with it. You're going to buy some cool ass house with it. And you're probably going to do a couple other dumb things, and then you're going to blow it. You're going to give some away to some friends and some family, and before you know it, you ain't going to have shit again because maybe you didn't develop strong enough to begin with to even kind of hold on to some of that. So we talk about that consistency a lot, but back to the education. I I got my dad fired up about talking about consistency, and he's been going to the gym for 30 some odd days in a row, and he's under 200 pounds. My dad's only like 5'2", so for him to be 200 pounds, he ends up looking like quite the spicy meatball. I think he ends up sometimes being 220, 230, 240, and so on, and that's just way too heavy for his height. So uh, when I was talking about being consistent, I was kind of saying, like, how does somebody have the strength to be a good dad day in and day out, but lack the strength in these other areas? Like, how is it possible? How can I have him up so high on my totem pole of great people, with the
Hmm.
Jay Cutlers and Ed Cohns and these different people? How can I have him rank so high, but then how could he be so weak in this one category, And so we were talking about that, and we are talking about just figuring out a way to get consistent and having the strength inside you to say, you know what, I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm not going to be like this anymore. I'm going to make myself better. And so my dad started training, he started working out, and he started making some really strong changes. But where the education of it all comes in, it comes from him just having the understanding of, I need to make this change. I have to go through this. So the motivation and inspiration, yes, it did come from me. It came from me saying, hey, like all you have to do in order to lose weight is be consistent. Just start moving and it's going to start to cause some change. But he was smart enough to internalize that information, take that information and say, you know what? That's a really great message. I'm motivated and inspired to go do that today. But in order for him to continue to go, he has to understand that it's good for his body and it's good for him to do. If I tell you consistently that going for a 10-minute walk is good for you and that you should do 2 of them every day, maybe you'll do one today and maybe you'll do one tomorrow because you're motivated. And maybe you'll do one today because you're inspired. But if you don't know why you're doing it, if you don't understand the purpose of it, if you don't maybe understand that it can help with insulin resistance, if you don't understand that it could help with your blood pressure, if you don't understand that it can help manage your weight, if you don't understand that it's just good general health practice, if you don't understand that it could be beneficial to your mental health, if you don't understand that going out and getting some sunlight and some vitamin D could be critical to many things to your body, your skin, your bones, your heart. I mean, the list goes on of the things that can benefit you from walking and from getting outside. But if you don't understand these things, maybe it's not enough to get you off the couch. But I might say something that gets you fired up or inspired to do something for one day, but that's not enough. It's got to come from the education. And this kind of leads us to this topic of today. So I go out for these walks every morning. I wake up at about 5:30. Many of you that followed along with the bodybuilding stuff saw that I was waking up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and eating and different things. But I've changed my routine up quite a bit. I would love to still wake up really early like that, but my schedule for right now is not allowing it. I'm trying to get more sleep. I'm trying to take care of that side of things too, because again, kind of back to the education thing. I learned a valuable lesson in all that. That was a good way to kind of grind things out, but it was also only good for a period of time. You're going to compromise your health if you're trying to compromise your sleep too much. And so you have to make room for sleep. And so anyway, wake up about 5:30. It's about the same time my wife wakes up to go to swim practice every morning. And by the way, my wife is awesome. She's been swimming every day for let's see, last week she swam every day, all 5 days, and then this week I think she's done the same. And she's lost about 6 or 7 pounds, which I always think she looks amazing anyway, but Andy Bell is crushing it and she looks awesome. So congrats to her. I know like, it's not always so much about like the look, but it's about how people feel. She feels better. She feels prettier. She feels sexier. Shit, that works out great for me, right? It
Right.
works out great for everybody. Like when somebody feels better, I feel better for them. I'm happy for them. I'm excited for them, whether it's my wife or someone in the office or whatever. It's just cool.
Mm-hmm.
So she's doing a great job. But as I'm going on these walks, I'm listening to these different YouTube videos usually. Now, everybody on this podcast always preaches that you have to read. And most of the people that I listen to that talk about success, some of the rules for success, reading almost always factors in there.
Mm-hmm.
I would say reading and health are like two things that are always there. Reading, health, family, like those are things that they're always there, and those are all things that we could figure out how to make time for. There's no real genetic component to any of those things. Doesn't matter if you're 7 feet tall or 5 feet tall. Doesn't matter if you're male or you're female. You can make time for family. You can make time to read, and you can figure out some of these different rules. You can make time for your health, right? But as I'm going on these walks, I instead of like reading or listening to an ebook or listening to a podcast, I tend to just listen to YouTube videos, and I go to great lengths of kind of searching out a lot of different things. And a lot of times when I'm going to a coffee shop, that's when I'm kind of searching for these things. And I'm always trying to seek out the next best video. And when I was doing a lot of my cardio sessions for the bodybuilding show, these things became more and more important. And it was hard to find things that were good. It really was. It was hard to find things that were good because the things that are common usually aren't great.
Mm-hmm.
They're just too common. They're shared too much, and they're just kind of overdone. And sometimes those things are great. But anyway, I found this one piece from Dana White, where Dana White was talking about the UFC. He was talking about selling the UFC, and you guys should try to look it up online. We will share the link with you. I'll try to send it over to Andrew right now as we're doing the podcast. But it was a fantastic interview that was done by Tony Robbins. I know.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's getting all upset. People tend to flare up about Tony Robbins. I happen to like Tony Robbins. But anyway, it was awesome. Dana White talked about building up the UFC over a long period of time. He talked about how he was able to sell the UFC and how the UFC is now worth $7 billion or $6 billion, somewhere in that neighborhood, and how he almost lost it several times. They almost sold it several times. And he just shared a lot of great stories in there about how he had to kind of hang in there over the years, and he had to hold on to his hopes and dreams, and how he had to stick things out. He also talked about the Fertitta brothers, who were their dad was a casino owner. The family had a lot of money. They ultimately ended up buying the UFC, and with Dana White, they made the UFC what it is today. But what I found intriguing about it, and also at the same time, recently kind of finding out more about Elon Musk through Joe Rogan's podcast, which I recommend you guys listen to too. I don't have any problem, by the way, sharing information with people and telling you guys, hey man, go listen to this, go read this. This came from this guy. This came from that guy. I don't have any problem sharing with you that I got in shape for my bodybuilding show through knowledge that I got from Stan Efferding, through knowledge that I got from Hani Rambod. I'm always going to be transparent. I'm always going to give it to you guys straight. Also, prepping for that bodybuilding show, I'm not afraid to say that I did my own programming. Like, I did all my own lifting for that. Hani gave me some suggestions. Michael Hearn gave me some suggestions, but I did that on my own. Andrew and I trained together. We worked very hard together, and the results ended up being the results. Ended up going the way that it went. But I'm always going to tell you guys, always going to give it to you guys straight, because I don't think that me hiding something and me trying to claim that something came from me is going to make me any more powerful. Actually, I think it makes you stronger to tell people where things originated from. So anyway, I highly recommend you check out that. Check out Joe Rogan's podcast as well that he did with Elon Musk. And in listening to both of these guys, I would say both these guys are insanely successful. I think Dana White, I think, ended up with that UFC deal making over $300 million. I think he said $360 million. And he talks about how he already had money. He also talks about why the hell would he stay and continue to work for the UFC? Because he now had what he called fuck you money, right? And he just said, like, well, what else am I going to do? And the reason why he says that is because this is exactly what he always wanted to do. And from the time he was about 7 years old, he knew that he wanted to be involved in the fight business. I don't think he knew exactly how or why. Maybe he thought he was going to be a boxing champion. I know that he was always passionate about boxing. I think later on he got passionate about like kickboxing. But he always knew that he wanted to be involved in fighting in some way. And so learning that he found out at a young age that this is what he needed to do or this is what he wanted to do, and then learning that like Elon Musk and some of these other people have figured out at a very young age this is what they wanted to do, it seems like the earlier that you figure out what it is you want to actually do with your life, the sooner that you can get to it, and the stronger that is going to be, and the stronger that's going to develop. Because a lot of your hopes and dreams are probably going to be developed in the early stages of you figuring out what it is that you want to do. And if those things are kind of pushing through and those things are working out at the correct time when you're 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, those are some really cool years where you're developing and you are still irrational. You're still like not accepting the world's views. You're not overly influenced by what you can and can't do.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're like watching SpongeBob SquarePants when you're 8, and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna do a voiceover for a cartoon, and then somebody else is like, wow, that's like holy crap, that's great, that's really cool. But then you're 11, you're 12, you're 14, you're 17, you're now 17, and you're talking about that. Someone's gonna be like, dude, like that probably ain't gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like you
should probably stay in school.
Yeah, you should probably stay in school because like whoever's doing that, like they got lucky, they met somebody. That's probably not like a goal of theirs.
Mm-hmm.
They start whatever they're gonna say. They just start really talking you out of it, and they may even say negative things. They might say, Andrew, like you don't even say 2 words, dude. Like you don't talk enough to do voiceover for this thing. Or your voice is dumb. Like you sound stupid. It's not going to sound good.
No, that's part of the whole thing, though. The character's going to sound kind of lame.
Like Patrick Starr.
Yeah, you're talking about dream killers, and they're everywhere.
Dream killers.
Can't stand those.
Genius reapers. They're everywhere. They're
Right.
there. They're waiting there to steal your ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And Dana White talks about this, how life is ready, locked and loaded, and ready to go, and ready to kick you in the face. The second that you wake up. And now, what if we take these ideas and these hopes and dreams, and what if we really try to hang on to them? First of all, we got to talk about how do we even figure out what we want to do. So we'll talk about that in a second. But you have to be a little bit irrational, and you have to really hold on to your dreams despite what some other people are telling you. You can't let your dreams die. There's no reason to let them die with people that really don't know what the hell it is you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And these people that tend to be negative, or these people that tend to give you this other advice, a lot of times they're not even trying to be negative. They're trying to actually give you like a rational solution. But if you're trying to be great, or if you're trying to be different, which I advise that you do, because we have too many people being the same, then you have to be a little bit irrational. You have to think outside the box a little bit. You have to say, no, I'm not doing that. I don't want to do that. Oprah Winfrey, when she was a kid, she was learning how to fold clothes for her grandma. Her grandmother's like, hey, this is this is what we do. This is you wash your clothes, you dry your clothes. And if I can remember correctly, I think maybe she was even, man, hopefully I'm saying this right. I think maybe she was even washing and drying somebody else's clothes. It's like not even her own family. I think she was doing it for somebody else as a job. And she was like, one day you're going to have to learn this. And Oprah was like, no way. There's no way. I'm not going to do that. Whether it was for herself or for her family or for somebody else really doesn't matter. The point is like Oprah was like, no, I'm not doing that. Like that's not going to be part of my life. Like somebody else is probably going to. I don't know if she thought to herself, someone else is going to do that for me, or my life is not going to be lived like in this like domestic fashion. I'm going to go out and make a bigger. Yeah, I'm going to go out and have a different impact on the world. I'm going to do something different with my life. I don't want to like live in a kitchen. I don't want to live in a laundry room.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go out and do something else. And so she did. But she had to kind of, I mean, her grandmother, right? Her grandmother's probably somebody she really looked up to. Probably somebody she loved dearly. Probably somebody she learned a lot of great lessons from. But just because you learn a lot of great lessons from somebody doesn't mean they have any clue on what it is you should do with your life. A lot of times, the worst advice that you may ever get could come from your own mother. You know what, honey? I just, it's not a good idea. I don't want you playing football. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
get hurt. And then what, right? The guy becomes a linebacker for the,
Mm-hmm.
in the NFL for 10 years.
Yeah.
It is maybe Khalil Mack's mom,
Right.
told him that when he was a kid. I mean, your parents, they're trying to give you what they feel is best. And maybe even I'm not perfect. Like I'm going to probably tell my kids something stupid that goes
Mm-hmm.
completely opposite against
Mm-hmm.
what they're going to be great at. Like,
But
because you're trying to protect them, right?
so that's what I was gonna say. Like right before you said football, because with football it's pretty obvious, trying to protect their kids or whatnot. But yeah, they're just trying to protect them from failing like horrifically bad at whatever it is. Like, oh, I want to be a wrestler,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. So that was my dad. My dad said that with my brother. Um, my brother played football and he was a really good football player. His football team was really good. My brother got a lot of recognition. Um, and my brother ended up going to the University of Cincinnati and he played football and he was moving up and he was doing well, being a defensive tackle at the University of Cincinnati. Then he ended up with some injuries. He ended up with some this and some that, and he moved closer to home. And then he went to Connecticut and played football. I can't remember if it's like Central Connecticut or where it was exactly, but it was closer to Poughkeepsie, New York, was where we're from. He wanted to be a little closer to home. I think he was a little homesick, and then on top of that, he had an injury, so he wanted to go to school a little closer. And I think he wanted more of an opportunity to play. University of Cincinnati is some pretty big time football, and my brother kind of saw the painting on the wall that he probably wasn't going to get as much playing time as he wanted. Anyway, my brother goes to Connecticut. He moves up the ladder there pretty quickly and is doing pretty well. But then again, I think he tweaks his knee or something like that, and he gets done with. He's just tired of football. It's run its course. He's not good enough. Whatever you want to say. And he's frustrated, and he didn't go to school. He didn't go to school to go to school. He went to school to play football, right?
Hmm.
And he tells my dad like, I want to come home, and I want to follow my dream. My dream is to become a professional wrestler. I don't know why I'm faking it by trying to play football, and that's what I want to do. And my dad's like, he's like, you're not doing that, and he's like, yes, I am. I'm coming home, and my dad said, well, you can do whatever you want, but you're not living here. And so my brother went home, and my brother got a bouncing job, and within a month, my brother's on, which is the very beginning version of Monday Night Raw, which is pretty crazy to
Mm-hmm.
think back now. Like Monday Night Raw is the longest lasting television TV series, like in the history of America, or
Wow.
some shit like that, along with like The Simpsons or something. I mean, Monday Night Raw has been on for a really long time. One of the longest lasting syndicated shows, I know that. Anyway, and my brother was wrestling in the Manhattan Center in New York City against like Yokozuna and against Bret the Hitman Hart and against all kinds of people. And my dad, just was really taken back by that. And my dad was like, you know what? I am never going to do that to my sons ever again. I'm never going to tell them that they're not capable of doing something, or I'm never going to like doubt them again. So my brother, kind of paved the way for somebody like me to have some unconventional train of thought. But again, back to finding what you want to do. My brother always knew he wanted to be a professional wrestler. I don't know what magnet,
Mm-hmm.
grabbed a hold of him, but he was hypnotized by it and he loved it. He loved it so much that like me and my brother Chris loved it because he loved it so much. I always liked wrestling, but I really loved it because he loved it a lot. And then Chris, he genuinely loves wrestling anyway. But we all got way into it because my brother was way into it. We all got into lifting because my brother was way into it for playing football and stuff like that too. But the thing is like he found what he wanted to do at a young age, and boom, there he was, like with I don't know, a year and a half or so of practice. There he was on national TV, wrestling some of the biggest stars that there were at the time. Now, he was on the receiving end of losing a lot of matches, just because that's kind of the way wrestling was at that time. But nonetheless, he fulfilled a lot of what he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think for him, he had a hard time kind of fulfilling in some of the other things he wanted to do. But he knew what he wanted to do at a very young age. And so, how do you figure out what it is you want to do?
Before we go any further, what was that like seeing him on TV for the first time?
It was, it was really cool. It was also kind of weird too. It was
I
like,
bet.
because like I would go to the events live too,
Mm.
and that was weird too because like, my parents were smart. They, I don't know how they had like the intuition that they had, but they somehow they somehow like understood the impact of things.
Mm.
So they would, they would do stuff like, okay, Monday Night Raw starts at like 9 p.m. and it's in New York City. So I think now that I think about it, maybe it started at like 6, but whatever the case is, like you're not coming back from New York City and getting back into Poughkeepsie before like midnight anyway,
Mm-hmm.
or later. But my parents understood the impact of like what these kind of things would do, so they still took me to like those my dad still took me to those matches. Now it wasn't every single week, but he took me to a few of them, and I'd miss school the next day, or I'd go in real late the next day. But I think my dad knew, like, hey, you know what? Like this is way more important than school. Like your big brother is 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 wrestling in front of 10,000 people,
Yeah.
and like we should go see this, and we should go like check this out. And so a lot of those things are things that stood out in my head that allowed me to kind of imagine the bigger picture and imagine that like my life could be unconventional. I don't have to fit into any box that somebody wants to put me in, because I can do or be kind of whatever I want. So it was kind of amazing. And then like a couple days later, or I think maybe my mom would tape it because it was Monday Night Raw, which was live. Then we'd go back and we'd watch it, and then we'd like pause, and I'd be like, "There I am in the corner,"
Yeah.
I'd see myself like in some cheap seat somewhere,
Mhm.
and we'd see ourselves in the crowd too. I mean, I remember being there for like when the Dynamite Kid like came out of the crowd. That was X-Pac.
Mm.
He came out of the crowd in one of the matches, and then he like beat somebody. He beat like Razor Ramon. I mean, we were at a lot of these things. We saw a lot of these things kind of like unfold, and like I don't know, it was. I don't actually, now that I think back, I don't think he came out of the crowd. I think it was just a major upset because he was one of like the scrub wrestlers, right? Like that
Well,
got beat on all the time.
dang. And then they later joined up in DX, right? Or no.
Yeah, yeah,
Was it?
something like
Yeah.
that.
Or I think no, they had split up, and that was
Yeah,
when Razor Ramon went to
it was
WCW,
WCW and
NWO.
NWO and all
That's
that.
what
Yeah,
it was. Sorry, I got confused. Silly me.
yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I mean, a lot of those things are things that ended up kind of shaping, who I am and how I turned out to be. And the next thing that we're going to kind of run through here is like, I'm talking about how you got to be irrational in order to kind of like hold on to these dreams, and you're going to have to tell people that love you, tell people that care about you that you're following this dream and you're not coming off this path no matter what. And they're going to tell you things that sound enticing and that sound smart. Hey man, you should probably, go work at like Applebee's or something, and you should go do this or go do.
Something to fall back on.
And yeah, yes, people always say that. Now this doesn't mean, this is not This doesn't give you carte blanche to be a loser. So this is really important because a lot of times that's what people will do. Andrew was just talking about how he went all in on photography, but don't think that he didn't have another job while he was doing it.
Right.
You still had another job. You weren't a loser. You still were like practicing for the future. You still were sacrificing for the unknown. You still had a job. You still had obligations. You still had family. You still had friends. You still had coworkers. You still had a boss. You still had other employees. You still had people that relied on you.
Yeah, I was gonna say I still had bills that I couldn't just be like, nope, I'm going all in, fuck everything.
And so sometimes people they're like, yeah, man, like it's gonna come together. And look, it's not. It's you know what? It's not gonna come together. And you're living a dream that's gonna turn into a nightmare really fast because you're not taking care of the shit that you need to take care of.
Right.
And we'll get to some of that in a minute, but like you still have to work. You still have to have really strong work ethic. I've said before on the podcast, when I met my wife, I didn't have a job, I didn't have a car, I had a lot of debt, I had a lot of this, a lot of that, but I wasn't a loser. I still worked really hard. Anything that I ever did, I worked really hard at. I didn't have a lot of direction. I couldn't figure things out. And just because you can't figure things out, that doesn't mean you're a loser. Being a loser is being a loser, and it's very obvious when you're a loser. When you're a loser, you can't figure out how to win at all. And winning at all is like just getting a job and being able to maintain one. Being a winner would be being able to follow through on stuff. Like you'll know. And if you don't have the characteristics to follow through on much of anything, then it's going to be really hard to hold on to these dreams because you're going to keep getting pulled in different directions for a really long time. And you're going to have some sort of stability in order to make it all work and to make it all come together. So, everyone's sharing this stuff about, being an entrepreneur and, like being an entrepreneur is dangerous territory. It's important for people to understand that. I mean, we just lost a good one with my friend Jason, taking his own life. I mean, it's dangerous territory, and entrepreneurs. If you look at the statistics, there's a high rate of suicide. It is a dangerous position to be in. It's hard. There's a lot of stress that's involved. And yeah, it's sexy and appealing because it's you quote unquote work for yourself. But as many of you know that are trying to do it, you don't really work for yourself. You still have so many obligations that it gets to be insane. And it can be a lot of fun though, on the other hand, right? But you still have to do the things that you don't want to do when you normally don't want to do them, which gets to be really hard. How do we figure out, again, just back to that kind of loser thing before we move on. You're going to have to practice and test your will and test your work ethic consistently and constantly, and that can be tested through many different ways. It can be tested through diet, it can be tested through lifting, it can be tested through some form of physical activity, exercise. It could be just about anything. I mean, putting together events or following through on certain things that you say that you're going to do. It could be that you say that you're going to help your grandmother build something or help somebody, clean out their garage, or like it just could be anything. But if you're not working on saying, yep, you know what, I said that, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to check that off. And even just things that you say to yourself on a daily basis, you know what, I'm going to clean out that closet tomorrow, and you never clean it out. I mean, like those things are going to be things that will manifest and will build up. And when you are, you're at a point in your life where you don't have other responsibilities that are making these other things pile up, then you should just get that shit done so that you can at least prove to yourself that you're strong enough to at least get some of that stuff done, so that as you get closer and closer to your hopes and your dreams, you'll start to realize, yep, I'm getting closer and I'm going to be ready. When it's time to make that jump, I'm going to be ready because I've been prepping for this for a long time. I've been prepared for this for a long time. I've been practicing for a long time. I'm ready to rock.
Getting that conditioning in.
Yeah, getting that conditioning. They call it callousing your brain, right? You're getting a callus on your mind to toughen yourself up for whatever's coming next. Just like you would callus your hands. First time you go on the monkey bar as a kid, that shit hurts. Once you go on them a couple times, or what about a baseball bat? How bad does it hurt to swing a baseball bat a bunch of times?
Especially, if you don't hit the sweet spot.
Yeah, it kills your hands.
Yeah.
Well, then you get used to it, then you get a better swing, and then maybe you get some batting gloves and things like that, right? And it can you can get used to it, but you build up those calluses in your hands, and it makes a big difference. Now, this is really hard to do. How do you find out what you want to do? That can be really difficult, but this is where you'll have to be open-minded. You'll have to try some different things.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't happen to just stumble upon it, then it might be difficult. I think for me, it was always there. So it was there without me ever even looking for it. I sometimes have told people that lifting has chose me. I didn't really choose it. It just appeared.
Mm-hmm.
My brothers were into it, and it came my way, and I was like, this is awesome. I'm going to do this the rest of my life. And I watched pro wrestling and watched how big and strong some of those guys were, and I was attracted very much so to heavy lifting and powerlifting. I saw people locally at my local gym lifting some heavy weight. I'm like, this is awesome. I was watching WWE, and I saw Ted Arcidi bench press 700 pounds. That stuck in my head forever. And I was like, I want to figure out a way to do that someday like that. I don't know what that is or how that guy did that, but that was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that was just always there, but I didn't know what it was going to turn into. I didn't know how it was going to turn into what it's turned into. But, luckily for me, I knew at a very young age. How does somebody else figure that out? I think you're going to have life experiences to help you figure those things out.
Yeah. I was telling somebody not too long ago, because they were having a hard time figuring out, well, shit, I don't really know what I'm passionate about. So I was like, well, what can you not live without? Like, if I took something away from you, what would that one thing be? And they weren't sure. So I'm like, okay, then we have to figure out what that is. And if I was kind of being a jerk about it, but I'm like, well, if there's nothing that you're missing, then why are you looking? And when I said that, like, the eyes opened up, and it was like, fuck.
Right.
Like, okay. Like, yeah, I got to figure this out sooner than later.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people will sit there and they'll say, I don't know what I'm like passionate about. I don't know what I like. But then if you really kind of break them down, you start to talk to them more, you kind of find out they're into all kinds of things. But then they're going to say to themselves, oh, well, I don't really know. Couldn't really do anything with that. You find out that they are really into, let's just say, like car stereos.
Mm.
They're into like audio, they're into like sound, they're into this or into that. Well, I don't know. Maybe they can help engineer a podcast, or you can find things that are directly related, exactly 100% to what you like to do, or you can find things that are indirectly related to what you're doing. They could either be 100% what you want to do, or it could be an offshoot of it because you realize like, oh, through this I can learn that. So like, let's say that you are into car stereos. Well, maybe you get a job with a band and you learn how to you just go up to somebody that's in a band and you say, hey, I want to work with you guys for free for a little while because this is something that I want to get into more. You learn more about sound and bass and treble and all these different things, and you figure out how to mix it together. And then who knows, maybe you install car stereos and start your own company when you're older or whatever. I don't know exactly what it looks like for everybody, but I do know the story with Dana White. He said that he went to somebody locally who happened to be just known as the town badass, and he said, I want to work with you and I want to learn from you. And that's how everything got started. Dana White happened to be fortunate enough to go to school with one of the Fertitta brothers, and so he kind of always knew him and had him in his back pocket. But he simultaneously started moving forward with a lot of this boxing stuff. He also wasn't a loser. He got a job.
Hmm.
He was working as a bellman, and he decided he wanted to quit that job and he wanted to follow through with his hopes and dreams, and he ended up doing so. But in the meantime, he had a job. He also was actively trying to chase down that dream, and he chased down that dream by offering something free to somebody. I have trained people for free and worked for people for free. The gym is free. I've given a lot of free things away. Even when I was starting the gym in the first place, which the gym is where everything started in the first place, the gym is where everything grew from. Um, when I started the gym, one of the guys that wanted to invest some money in kind of just the gym starting up in the first place was just a gym member who I said, okay, well, if you're able to, he wanted to give me $5,000. That's what he said he could part with very easily. I said, okay, if you could part with $5,000, then you're a member for life. And then anytime we get shirts or hats or whatever, I'll give them just there for you for free. Anybody that you're friends with, they can come into the gym. We also had the understanding of like, hey, you don't own the gym. Like you're not a gym owner. This is just cash that's going to be exchanged, and it's just paying for that. And he was like, that's fine, totally agree. And that's what happened. And so we were able to move forward. But had I not ever told him about what I was trying to do, he would never know. He would not give me the money because he wouldn't know that I needed it in the first place. And also, we worked out an agreement. I said, hey, I'm going to do this for you. He wanted to bench 900 pounds. I said, I can get you there. And we did. And everything just kind of worked out the way that it did. But for me, luckily, again, I already knew what I wanted to do. But part of knowing what you want to do is when you kind of start to find out some of the things that you want to do, you got to share that with people. And you got to tell people what your hopes and dreams are. And finding, I say that I knew that I wanted to do, but I really didn't, because I never knew that I wanted to be an inventor. And ultimately, being an inventor is what I am, and that is what led to everything else. Going back to someone like Elon Musk, or going back to somebody like Steve Jobs. We'll just use Steve Jobs, for example. Steve Jobs has done more business than just about anybody that ever lived. What was Steve Jobs? Steve Jobs, was he a businessman? Or was he like a creator? Steve Jobs was more of a creator than anything else, but was he a good businessman? Of course he was a good businessman, but he didn't ever set out to do that. He probably never really used that terminology. He probably never used those exact words. The greatest businessmen of all time, a lot of times, are going to have an advantage if they are people that are creative. And why is that? It's because they are not going to be rational towards the amount of money that they make. They're not going to be rational about how they make their money. A business guy is going to say 1 + 1 = 2. And when we make this money by this time, that means that we're going to make this money by this time. And if we don't have money from A, B, and C, then we can't move on to D, which that's Andrew's favorite, is the capital letter D. He loves that D. He's stuck on that D. But
you did ask me to wash your balls this morning.
I did, and you didn't help.
I know I let you down, but there was a whole crew there, and it would have got weird because they're like, "Where'd Andrew go?" Mm-hmm. And then you'd have been like, "He's washing my balls."
Yeah, it would have gotten weird. People tend to judge. People tend to judge.
Those dream killers.
Yeah,
they're all over.
They're everywhere. But somebody that is creative is going to have an irrational thought process. I've said before that one of my favorite quotes is from John Madden, and he used to say it before every football game, and all the players get all fired up, and they don't even know why they'd get fired up because a lot of them didn't even know what it meant. But he said, don't worry about the horse being blind, just load the wagon. And that is kind of the mindset of hey, don't worry about where we're going, just do your job. We're going to figure out a way to get there together. We'll worry about it after your work is done, which is the wagon being loaded and now the horse is blind. Now how the hell are we going to get to where we need to get to? You kind of figure that crap out later on. And when it comes to making money, you make money with great ideas, not necessarily with a great business plan. A great business plan from somebody who has executed multiple businesses well will probably always be profitable, probably always make money, but it might make $200,000. This other business might make $200,000, and the guy might accumulate all kinds of crazy amounts of money. But somebody could come along with one awesome, crazy idea that maybe on paper doesn't even make any sense, such as the guy who made the sponge that was on QVC and that was on, I'm forgetting the name of the show.
Shark Tank.
Shark Tank. I can't believe I forgot the name. I love that show. Was on Shark Tank. The guy that made the sponge has a smiley face on it. And the guy, like, I don't remember the type of business the guy did, but the guy came, went to the tune of like $50 million or something like that. Or if you ever seen the movie that they made with the woman that did that, like, Mop. Have you ever seen that movie with the...
No.
Anyway, it's an amazing movie. I should know the name of it, but damn it, I don't know the name of it. But it was an awesome movie. It's the girl from Hunger Games is in it. What's that girl's name? The main girl in Hunger Games. Why am I so bad with that?
It's been a long day. We've had you say all kinds of stuff today.
That's true. That would be my excuse.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence. Jennifer Lawrence is in it, and it's an awesome movie. There we go. Look at that sponge.
So is it the Scrub Daddy?
Scrub Daddy.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, it looks,
It's so stupid.
it's dumb, right? It's dumb. Yeah. Well, but there's business people who look at that and be like, get out of here with that.
Yeah.
Like, what's retarded? Like, no one's going to like that. But not only is the sponge like functional, not only does it work really good, I guess because of the holes and because of the smiley face, it doesn't collect as much junk, which is a major problem for sponges. They can be really gross. They can hold on to a lot of just bacteria because they're sponges, right? And this particular one, it tends to work really good, and people really like it, and it's got a smiley face on it, which is wonderful for when you're doing dishes, right?
That's crazy.
Figure out that movie that Jennifer Lawrence is in with the mop.
All right.
That's a great movie. But anyway, you're going to have some irrational thought if you want to be successful in any of these things. And, finding out what you want to do. Joy, there we go. That's the name of the movie. That movie is awesome, and anybody who wants to be an entrepreneur and anybody who wants to kick it, God damn, Jennifer Lawrence is hot. Yep. And then they released those pictures, and it was all over.
That was the first time I really even paid attention to the cloud.
Mm-hmm. Not your cloud, her cloud.
No. Yeah, I still can't figure out how to even access my cloud, but
Hey,
everyone learned how to figure out
everybody,
hers.
listen to this message, okay? We need help over here. We don't understand the cloud. If there's anybody listening that understands the cloud, anybody listening to this message, hello.
Anybody there?
Anybody.
Bueller.
Beep, 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 beep.
So
That's me using Morse code saying we need help with the cloud.
And then you said that your iPhone was trying to back itself up or something.
It's gonna back something up. I don't know. It keeps giving me this message. It's stuck on my phone now. Okay, here's what it says. It says iPhone not backed up. This iPhone has not been backed up in 2 weeks. Is that an emergency? Backups happen when this iPhone is connected to power, locked, and on Wi-Fi. Well, if it does that while it's on Wi-Fi and it's locked and it's
Plugged in.
yeah, it's always. I don't. My phone has a mind of its own because these phones are not made to handle the amount of abuse that I give this thing.
You are pretty bad with your phone.
I have really bad luck. But anyway, we need help over here.
Yeah, my phone's been saying that since the first day I got it, and it's like, oh, you don't have enough space. I'm like, I've literally I have like over 200 gigs available.
I didn't do anything.
Like I have not done
It's
anything.
not my fault.
Telling you, I'm for reals the victim this time.
No, I'm serious. No, really. Like this is a serious.
We need help.
We need help. We need a lot of help. We've talked before on the podcast about like, kind of having that victim mentality and how, you complain about something and you're like, no, but
do food stamps fix iPhones?
Yeah, these goddamn food stamps won't buy diapers. These food stamps won't fix my iCloud. But just kind of how ridiculous it can be sometimes to, we're going to watch a trailer.
I don't know, I just throw it up. You
can. We were just talking about how ridiculous it can be, when you're complaining and how you're so adamant and you want other people to feel your pain and you complain and complain and complain. And you're like, no, but this is a real complaint, man. Like this really happened. You don't understand. And no matter what, it always sounds dumb. It always kind of sounds stupid. I mean, every once in a while, something will happen, and all you can really say to somebody, somebody can say, "Hey, man, I was driving down the street the other day, and the worst thing happened to me. I went to change the music on my radio, and I ran over a cat or something, right? Well, that's like kind of a legitimate thing. You're like, oh shit, man, like I'm sorry, like that sucks. You freaking killed someone's pet or whatever may have happened, right? Like that's kind of legitimate. But like aside from like, that's like an accident, right? And those things happen. But a lot of times these complaints that we have are just garbage and they sound stupid.
Yeah. In that same Dana White interview, he was talking about how he gets excited for Monday. He can't wait for the week to start. And like if you're complaining about Monday, like you need to quit.
Yeah.
Today on my commute here to the gym, it was like normal, like rush, like traffic hour times. And I was just like, fuck, I don't miss this at all. But what ended up happening is this guy, he got into the carpool lane. He seen that there was a cop there, and he slowed down. And then he's like, fuck it, I'm going for it. And he guns it. And the cop gets out, and he did a double take. And he's like, nope. And he pulled him over. And I'm just like, dude, like, how bad does your job suck to where you're willing to risk getting a ticket to get there on time?
Right.
Like I understand if it was like a serious deal and you had
right.
like a meeting or whatever, but I don't know. I was just like, shit, dude. I'm so grateful that I don't deal with that anymore.
Yeah, this job is so much fun, and it really shows. It shows like and I'm not just making this shit up because I run the joint or whatever. It really is a lot of fun, and really. And in a lot of ways, I don't really run anything. I mean, I ultimately, what ends up happening is I end up, texting people ideas or suggestions. Say, hey, like it'd be cool if we did this. I just it runs itself. It runs itself because the individuals get to run kind of their own territory. Jessica and Joey handle social media. Smokey is the general manager, so he has to push things along, and he's kind of the one that ends up kind of handling multiple tasks and kind of making sure and overseeing that a lot of things get done. Like certain guests get here to the show, they get hotels, they get people. He's kind of overseeing and making sure people are getting lunch breaks and getting along, and just there's a million things that the guy is responsible for. And he's done a great job with a lot of that. And he's a big part of why everyone here is so happy. But if you look at the media team too, like they're not being like Chris Griffin, who runs our YouTube. Chris Griffin's not breathing down anybody's neck. I never see him in there, hovering over somebody like it's got to be done. And a lot of stuff doesn't even work that way. We do want things to be done. We want people to be working, but the things will get done when they get done. They take certain amounts of time. When we first started, a lot of these things they took a long time for me to like learn certain things. It's hard to be patient sometimes when you have something and you're like, oh man, like we have this thing and I want to like get it out to everybody. But the only people that know that we have it are us anyway. So it doesn't really matter,
Mhm.
right? Does it matter that it gets released on Monday or does it matter that it gets released on Tuesday? No, not really. The most important thing is that it gets executed well. The most important thing is that there's execution behind it and that there's a story behind it. One thing that I'm learning that is a hard thing to understand is, and this is a quote I want to stick up on the wall, and I have the quote written somewhere that's better than what I'm going to say, but it's more accurate. With this company and all the different things that we're trying to do, and this is just a good like life message in general, we're not trying to sell to everyone. We're only trying to sell to the people that are on board with our message. If you don't get our message, that's totally fine. I don't need you to get our message. Nobody here needs you to understand our message. If you don't want to be part of this free gym, that's okay. You can go train, you can go pay for a gym and you can go somewhere else. If you do want to be part of this free gym, this is a cool environment to get better. It's a cool environment to get stronger. If you want a pair of strong sleeves, if you want a strong belt, if you want to buy some of the apparel, if you want to support what we do because you're into it, then that's fantastic. And if you are into it, and if you are behind it, and you are someone that cares about it, then what does that do for this company? That brings in somebody else that's passionate about it. And that's what we want. We want people that are excited about these products. We want people that are excited about the things that we're doing here. And we don't I don't need to have everybody work here either, right? Like we can hire more people. We could keep hiring, friends and family and keep bringing people on board. But we really only want to hire people that are behind the message, people that understand the message. Terrell is the kind of the newest person here, right?
Mhm.
So far, it's very clear he's behind the message. He had a pair of knee sleeves before I ever met him. He had a pair of strong sleeves before I ever met the guy. And a lot of the guys here have had products, and I think you might have had some stuff, or at least we're aware. A lot of other people have supported the message, and that's what we want from the customer too. We don't get acquiring new customers is awesome, and that's not even really what I'm talking about. Um, but the customer, whether they're new or they're old, it's important that they understand the message that we have. If they don't, then it doesn't. They're not really as valuable to us as someone that does understand the message. Because someone that understands what we're trying to do, and someone that listens to this podcast, and somebody that embraces a lot of the things that we do, they don't have to agree with everything that I say, but somebody that embraces what we're doing and they see what's going on and they say, okay, Mark Bell creates products for powerlifters. He was a powerlifter for a really long time. He tore his pec. He had an invention. He capitalized on capitalism. He capitalized living here in the United States, and he's done a good job with it. He makes fun and cool products. I like the message that they have. He has a lot of fun. His Instagram is funny and wacky and silly, and sometimes a little off color. And it appears that he and a lot of the people that work out at Super Training Gym have a lot of fun, and they laugh a lot, they smile a lot, and they lift a lot. That's what we want. We want people that understand that message, that see that message, and we want them to go, click, I'm going to click on that, purchase, boom, I'm going to buy that. But anyone who's like, man, I'm going to check out the prices of SBD. I'm going to check out the price of Iron Rebel. Then those people that want to do all that stuff, then they're just not for us. And that's totally fine, because we can still be twice as successful as we are right now by keeping with our kind of motto, which is we're trying to make the world a better place to lift, and we still have a lot of work to do when it comes to that. There's still a lot of people to reach, so that's been a really tough thing to understand, because it takes a lot of patience to do that. It takes a lot of patience to just kind of like literally watch people at a trade show, like look at your product and walk by, and you're like, that guy was big. He had tattoos. He had a goatee. He was bald. He totally looked like my customer, and he just walked on by. Like, maybe he's just a fat guy, and watch the next fat guy walk by, and kind of same thing. And then you just learn over a period of time, like, oh, well, okay, That's fine. Maybe that guy believes in something else.
Yeah.
Maybe that guy believes in, you know, if there is a message from those other companies, maybe they maybe they believe
Yeah.
in whatever bullshit those other companies are pumping out.
In San Jose, I talked to this dude for, I don't know, he was probably at the booth for like 20 minutes. So I was talking to him about
Hey, a guy was hitting on you.
well, shit, that might have been it. But I was telling him about the slingshot, got him doing push-ups and da da da. And then finally he was like, "Oh, this is cool. Do you have a bench block?" I was like, no, we don't have any of those here, man." And he's like, "Do you know who does?" I'm like, could not tell you at all. And he's like, "All right, cool, thanks." And I'm like,
Yeah,
the
that's
fuck was that?
that's exactly what I'm talking about. Somebody, comes over and they start shooting the shit with you, and they're like, "Is Ronnie Coleman here?"
Yeah.
You're like, "Dude, I don't have any idea if I mean, first of all, if Ronnie Coleman was here, I wouldn't be standing right here either. I'd be
Right.
standing in line to get his autograph."
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's yeah, it is really funny like that, and I don't know, you learn over a period of time that like if I have to like sell you something, um and it's to try to like sell you on the product, then it's not going to work. But if I sell you on a concept or an idea, that's way different thing.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody comes to the booth and they have no idea of our products or anything, and they come by and they say, "Hey, what do you guys have going on?" You say, "Well, that's kind of a long story. We have quite a few products. It all started with this one product called the Slingshot. Slingshot, supportive upper body device for bench press, push-ups, and dips. But really, what we're doing here is just trying to make the world a better place to lift, because we realize that lifting day in and day out is kind of a pain in the balls and it hurts. And we make a lot of products that support you while you lift. And we have a gym in West Sacramento that's actually free. So if you ever want to come check it out, we'd love to have you there." And they go, "What? You had a free gym? What the hell? What is that?" Okay.
Right.
Hey, what products you say you have? Because you know what? My elbow's been killing me. You got anything for your elbow? Yeah, of course we do. Actually, if you wrap your wrist, it can actually help your elbow too. It can help your shoulder. We have wrist wraps. We got elbow sleeves. Now you got the guy, he's like bought in, right? And whether you actually make a sale or not is irrelevant, but he's bought into kind of everything else that you're doing. And just kind of relating this all back to what the hell it was we were talking about in the first place, of finding out what it is you want to do. A lot of times this has to do with direction. And as I talked about earlier, I didn't really have a direction for a long time. And so when I didn't have my license, and when I was in debt and there was all these different things going on and things were not looking great for me, I didn't have a direction, but I was still strong. And I don't mean strong like lifting wise. When it came to going to football practice at Santa Monica City College, where I played with Chad Johnson and Steve Smith, I still went to practice every day. I showed up. I worked as hard as I could. When my coach said, "Hey, you know what? We're losing a lot of our players because the grades are coming out tomorrow. Can you play defensive tackle instead of being outside linebacker?" And I weighed at that point in the season, I went from like 225 to like 205 because we were just running so much. I was dying. My coach is like, "Hey, can you play nose guard?" And I said, "Coach, I'll do." He's like, "Are you still strong in the weight room and stuff?" I said, "Yeah, I'm still throwing around the same weight." He goes, "All right, can you play nose guard?" I said, "Absolutely." Played nose guard, got the crap kicked out of me. Every single game, got killed. Got double teamed, triple teamed, got hit by the center, the two guards, the fullback, like whoever they had, they just absolutely killed me. I mean, I remember, a bunch of plays, I'd get past the center, I'd get past the guard, I'd be so excited, and wham, like a freight train, a fullback would come and just knock the crap out of me when I thought I was going to be able to get to the quarterback. But I was a hard worker. I was always trying. I was always trying to be better. I was still training at Gold's Gym. I was still, Will Harris was training me at freaking, not while I was playing football at the same time, but he was training me at like 4 o'clock in the morning. I was still working really hard, and I was still working towards my goals, and I was still working towards a lot of my hopes and dreams. I just didn't have a direction, but I was never like overwhelmed. I think being overwhelmed is a really awful thing to be. And I never wished for things to be easier. I always knew that my skill level would match up to whatever the day had for me. And I heard a really cool quote the other day, and it said, Don't wish for the wind to be less severe. Wish for a bigger sail. And I think that that's what you should be envisioning. If you have a larger sail, that represents your skill set. And that sail with the wind and you having a direction and having a map can take you the right way. And it could lead you down the right path. And finding out what you want to do, you're going to have to develop a skill set. You're going to still have to have willpower. You're going to still have to have work ethic. Without those things, you're dead. You're done. You're toast. You're dead in the water. And you're going to have to, if you're depressed, if you have, if you're sitting on a couch all the time, you're doing those things, you're going to have to figure out a way to get yourself up off that couch and get moving. And it's not because you want to be ripped. You're not going to go for a walk because you want to be ripped. You're going for a walk because you want to be successful. Somebody say, "Hey, why are you going for these walks all the time?" And you can tell them, "Hey, it's because I want to be rich someday." And they'll say, "What the hell are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense." Back to being irrational, right? You have irrational thoughts. You don't think like other people. I saw an interview the other day with Muhammad Ali where he told the guy who was interviewing him, I mean, it was like kind of mean in some way. He goes, "I don't think like you do." He's like, "I'm different than you. I'm on another level than you are." And he said, with the level that I'm on, he's like, I'm looking down at everybody. And the level that I'm on, which is way up here, and I'm not saying that I'm on this level. I'm just referring to what Muhammad Ali said. Muhammad Ali was saying, "I'm on this level up here. Everybody else is way down here." And they keep looking up at me and they say, "Ali, don't do it. Don't take this fight. You're going to get hurt." He goes, "I'm not going to get hurt. You know why I'm not going to get hurt? Because I don't think the way that you think." He's like, "The next guy that I fight, I'm going to whoop his ass because I'm Muhammad Ali. I'm the greatest fighter of all time." And you got to start to develop. You can't develop that mindset from sitting on your ass. That mindset can only be developed through victory. And you're going to have to figure out, how can I develop some wins? If you are not a professional boxer, how are you going to develop some victories? How are you going to develop some wins? Maybe one of your victories is if there's a speed bag at the gym, you say, "You know what? I always see that damn speed bag. I want to learn how to hit that thing. Learn how to hit the speed bag." Boom. Exit off your map. Victory number one. Right? Or, you know what? I heard the other day that it's healthy to go on a couple walks every week. I'm going to walk. I'm going to walk 2 hours every week. I don't know. You pick a number. That's what's reasonable. What's a number that's reasonable? I'm going to walk 1 hour every week. That'd be 20 minutes, 6 days a week, right? Did I get that right? 20 minutes, 6 days a week. Is that a reasonable amount of time? Yeah. That doesn't sound hard at all. And then you go out and you do it. And there's a victory. I heard that it's important that I sleep more. Well, shit, I can get on board with that. I get to sleep more. Or I don't really know if I can sleep more. I don't know if I can, sleep in an 8-hour stretch, but maybe I can get a nap in twice a week. Boom, there's another victory. Yeah, taking a nap can be a victory. Somebody said that reading is really important. I need to read. I need to start educating myself. Education's going to be a key to me making some big changes. There's another victory. It seems like you've been reading this sleep book almost every day.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got the audio book, so
yeah. But when have you been listening to it?
As soon as I jump in the car, because I don't want to say that's like dead time or anything, but like
it's 20 minutes.
Yeah,
10 minutes, 15 minutes.
What I would like to do is like hop on a Stairmill or Stairmaster and like finish the book.
Yeah,
like that's what I would like to do.
Yeah,
but other than that, like I haven't gone on any like 10-minute walks where like I have like the headphones on or anything because I'm either with somebody or I don't know. I love listening to like silence. Like silence is really loud early in the morning, and I like that sound.
So to block things out, do you wear headphones and just walk with nothing on, or do you just?
No. I like being around when no one's out.
Oh, okay.
It's just whatever. I've always been into it. Like when we go camping or something, like I like being up early and hearing absolutely nothing. It's like deafening. It's so loud.
Yeah.
and a lot of people don't experience that. But that's what I
That's
like to
cool.
do in the mornings. Yeah, I love that sound. Like it's so weird, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like the most calming thing like that I can imagine.
Oh, it makes sense to me. I love being awake before the sun is. I love being out. I like to kind of beat the sun. And for
Mhm.
some reason, I think that's amazing. I remember um, when we first moved into the house that we're in now. I remember being outside at night,
Mhm.
and I was just like looking up at the stars, and I was like, man, I'm so thankful that like this house is beautiful, like everything's really cool. And I just sat down and I just looked up. I saw some stars, and I
Mhm.
was like, it is totally and completely silent out here. There's no noise.
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm just gonna sit here and just this is awesome. Like
Yeah.
I'm like I'm like, hold on a second. Yep. There's no noise. None. There's nothing.
Mhm.
And then every once in a while, because like there's not a freeway, but there's a street that's not too far from me that you'll hear a car, but it's like kind of light, and that's about it.
Mhm.
You don't hear anything. Every once in a while, the dog next door,
Mhm.
he might bark a little bit, but that's like in the morning, and it's pretty rare. Yeah, there's no noise. I'm like, this is awesome. So
Yeah.
I agree with you. I
Yeah.
like the way that is.
Yeah, in my neighborhood, no one's up early. They're usually up late. But like I guess I don't know, maybe because there's no movement, like you can hear nothing. Because if you walk towards the end of the day or whatever, and like there's just stuff going on, even when there's like a break in like traffic or people,
Hmm.
it's not the same quiet.
Yeah.
It's a different. I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with like the air in the morning
But
or
see,
something.
like even that, like I think everyone thinks that their victory has to be that they went and they did an hour and a half workout. Now, if
Mhm.
your goal is to be in better shape, then maybe that is the goal that you have to have. If you want to be like really lean or something, or you got some wild hair up your ass about fitness, then maybe you do need 90 minutes a day of hard training the way that you and I are doing, right?
Mhm.
But uh, when you're just talking about success and you're just talking about feeling good and being happy, maybe your victory for the day is to hear nothing. I'm going to go out and I'm going to find whatever time that is, because we can't complain about things that we already know aren't going to happen. So you can't say, man, I can't wait to get home and just listen to nothing at 6 o'clock at night
Mhm.
because it's going to be too noisy.
Right.
So you're going to go outside and just bitch and moan about nothing, or you're going to try to do it at 8 o'clock at night when you know it doesn't work that way. You need to get up at whatever appropriate time it is it's quiet, or you need to stay up to whatever time is appropriate that's quiet, and you do that for however many minutes you like that to be, whether it's you walking or just sitting or whatever, and that needs to happen,
Mhm.
right? Like that, but that's a victory. That in itself is a victory. Um, you know what? I loved the other day. I loved when I spent 10 minutes the other day watching my daughter draw. I loved when I spent. I loved when I loved when I read to my son the other day. I loved. As soon as you say that, take a second and think about what you just said,
Mhm.
and say, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to do that more. So this goes into find things that are easy to do and do them a lot and repeat them.
Mhm.
You want it to be things that are helpful. I mean, you want it to be things that are going to lead to success. With you, it might be, um, you know what? Me and my girlfriend went out last night, and we went on a walk, and we drove to downtown Sac. We went on a walk, and I loved it. Well, maybe you can't do that every night,
Mhm.
but maybe you're like, hey, you know what? Like once a month, or even every other month, let's go do that.
Mhm.
Whatever the hell it is, it could be anything. I'm just using that as an example, but it could be anything. If it makes you happier, it's going to help you. And again, how does this relate to talking about Dana White and talking about
Mhm.
him selling his company for $360 million? This all has to do with happiness, because uh, Dana White's level of success, I'm sure, has made him happy, but I'm sure has also cost him a lot of anguish over the years, and probably has cost him a lot, right, in a lot of different ways. And he's probably had to learn over the years. But the message I'm trying to get to everybody today is not about, being a million or billionaire necessarily. This is about being happy, finding what you want to do and being able to do it. Whether it actually makes you rich is one thing. And being rich and being wealthy are like different things. I feel that I've always been rich. I feel that I've always had an abundance of of things that I like and things that I love and people that I love. I've always had that. I've always had enough hugs. I've always had enough kisses. I've always had. I've never. I mean, I guess everybody in their life feels neglected at some point, right? Just because you're like a little kid and you feel like you're
Mhm.
left out of something and you
Mhm.
cry, right? So I can't say that I never felt neglected, but legitimate gripe about being neglected, no. Uh, Definitely. I don't have a legitimate gripe with any of that. I've had an abundance. I've been healthy. The people around me have been relatively healthy. I have had I've felt rich my whole life. And it's not about the money in the bank. It's about just feeling. I've always felt good. And so for that, I'm very fortunate. Having awesome parents, I'm very fortunate. Having two brothers that I've always been very close with, I'm very fortunate. Yes, my one brother died, and like everyone's gonna deal with tragedy. Like that's just, tragedies are part of life. Death is part of life. People are going to die. It sucks, right? But it happens. Um, and even with that, it's like that's something that makes me sad. It upsets me. It upsets my family, obviously. Um, but we're all strong enough to be able to sit here and talk about it today. We're all strong enough to say, you know what? Be awesome if he was here today. He would love it. He would think this is so cool. He'd want to come in here and train. He'd probably come in here and squat in his underwear because I don't know. He just thought that was funny, and
That'd be amazing.
he'd be wearing some wacky, weird underwear, as he did at my friend Steve that came in here that one
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Uh, Mad Dog squatted in his garage. He squatted 500 for like 10 reps, wearing a purple underwear. We don't know why he had purple underwear. Purple tighty whities.
Nice.
It was horrifying, but that's what happened. But I've always felt rich, and then turning that later on into what it's turned into, the financial side of things, is not even so much what I'm getting at today. What I'm getting at today is finding things that you love to do and being able to execute them. If you can execute them really well, then you can become wealthy. But being rich and being wealthy are not necessarily the same thing. People that are successful aren't always good people.
Mm.
People that do good and great things that we think are good and we think are great are not always good and great people. People have a hard time separating out these things. People get so pissed when I talk about the president, but every every president has strong points and every president has weak points. Every mayor, every person, period, has strengths and weaknesses. And I think like people have a hard time separating out. If you talk about Barry Bonds, there'll be a lot of people say he was a cheater, right? There's a lot of other people would say he's the greatest baseball player of all time. But people have a hard time separating things out. O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson was a great football player. O.J. Simpson was a one-of-a-kind football player. He was the first player and the only player for a very long time to run for 2,000 yards in a season. He's the only player in the history of football to do it in a 14-game season. O.J. Simpson was a great football player. Is O.J. Simpson crazy? Yes. He's crazy, right? Um, he probably did murder his wife. He probably did murder Ron Goldman, or right? He
Mhm.
probably did these things. So he was a great football player, but bad person, right?
Mhm.
Donald Trump. Is it possible that Donald Trump is racist and sexist? Yeah, probably. Um, does it mean he's not a good president? Not necessarily. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's not a good president. Um, Same with Bill Clinton. Did Bill Clinton make bad decisions in his marriage? Yeah, he did. He made bad decisions with his marriage. It's very clear. Doesn't mean he wasn't a good president, right? Um, Obama. It's like President Obama. We don't, you don't know, it seems like he's got a clean track record, right?
Mm-hmm.
But just like anybody else in the world, he's done something wrong in his life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is he viewed as a good president? Time will tell. It kind of takes a while. There's some people right now shouting to the heavens like, he
Mm-hmm.
sucked, because people get so emotional about it, but they have a hard time making sense of the situation. When you think about, I always like to use Steve Jobs as an example. A lot of people think Steve Jobs was an asshole. Does that mean he wasn't good at executing when it came to business? No, he was probably one of the sharpest minds, maybe one of the best that we'll ever see.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you hear a lot of times you hear people like man, that guy is so amazing on such another level, and then you hear about what an asshole he is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes somebody can be a great basketball player, but they can be a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to talk about today is a way to try to find what you love to do, find things that make you happy, find things that can excite you, find things that are positive, get around other positive people, live out some of the hopes and dreams that you want to do. But the key, it all starts with finding what you want to do. But if you don't have some of the mindset, the work ethic, the will, it's going to be hard to make any of these things go. And it's going to take you all these things, they take a long time. As we were mentioning earlier, you're going to have to make sure that other people don't kill your dreams. You're going to have some irrational thought against some of the things that people are going to tell you. You're In order to hold on to these hopes and dreams, you got to almost take yourself back to the time you were a kid. When you were a kid, you might have said, you might have envisioned yourself. You might have been outside with a baseball and a baseball bat, and you might have threw the baseball up in the air and thought about it being bottom of the ninth, and there's 2 strikes and 3 balls, and it's the bottom of the ninth inning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're the last batter, and boom, you hit the game-winning home run, right, when you hit the ball, or you knock in the game-winning run, or whatever it was that you dreamed of or thought of. And when you're playing basketball, uh, you're shooting the game-winning shot. It's the game-winning half-court shot, right, or game-winning,
Always.
yeah, or game-winning three-pointer.
3, 2,
Yeah.
Zaragoza at the buzzer.
Yeah, and it's some like fadeaway thing, right? It's some
Yeah.
crazy shot where you got fouled, and
Of
then it was
course,
an
if you
and.
miss, you got fouled, and then
Yeah,
it's the free throw
yeah,
line.
right, right. And there's like an and one, and if you were a football player, you're throwing up the football and catching the game-winning thing, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not just a normal catch. It's like some crazy, like you can't just throw it up and just catch it, because if you do, then you always redo it. And you're out there and you're throwing it up to yourself because it's your own wacky thoughts and dreams, and like you don't even want anybody else around to even see it. I did a lot of this. I used to actually throw it up on my roof and then catch it when it came off the roof because it always come off the roof
Mm-hmm.
so funny, and I had to like dive for it. And I'm sure baseball kids did this with their mitt and their baseball and
I
stuff
did
too.
it with baseball all the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always doing it with the football. A lot of times I would just throw it up to myself and catch it. But if I just caught it normal, then I'd redo it. I'd be like, I got to do it again and set it up. It's the fourth quarter. It's, 3rd and 37, and, you got to throw a bomb, and, you throw the ball up in the air. And if I caught it normal, I had to redo it again. So now I got to back up and start it all over. And you got to do that at the end,
Yeah.
like you won the Super Bowl or whatever. But it's got to be this diving catch where like the tree is out of bounds, and so you got to
Mm-hmm.
just catch it right before the tree, but it's got to be inside the tree so that you're in the end zone part, and you barely made it in, and you barely got both feet down, and you barely caught it by the fingertips. It's hard to hold on to those hopes and dreams because when you're a kid, those hopes and dreams, as you get older, they become more and more distant. And then you're like, oh, this is going to be cool, man. I'm going to get a job, and I'm going to make, I'm going to be a, I'm gonna be a construction worker, and it's really cool because they pay you, 40 grand a year, and they pay your insurance, and then they have this plan, and they do the dental, and then as you get moving along, you're like, well, wait a second. When I was a kid, I didn't dream about making 50 grand.
Mm-hmm.
When you were a kid, you dreamed about like driving down the street in a race car or something crazy,
Right.
which you can't even do because the car's not even. But you didn't think about any of those rules when you were a kid, you know?
They didn't even exist. The rules, I mean.
Yeah, they don't exist. They don't exist, and so in some sense, you have to go back to that time of when you were a kid, so that you don't have all these rules. Because a lot of times, these rules are going to be things that potentially hold you back, and you don't want to be. You don't want to have to kind of live your life isolated inside that box. You want to be able to have a lot of fun with it. You want to be able to do a lot of the things that you want to do when you want to do them. Obviously, you're going to always have responsibilities, so you can't always do the things that you want to do. And if you, like, as I've said so many times on this podcast, if you want to be great at something, it's going to take a great effort, but more importantly, you have to do the things that you don't want to do when you normally don't want to do them. That's what separates people out from others. But you also have to do the things that are easy. What are things that are easy?
I can give you a quick example.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to our boy Kev, the photographer.
Kev.
Yeah, we've been having my buddy Kevin. I don't even remember exactly how we met, but I've been kind of like trying to.
Tinder.
Fuck. Who told you?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
I saw him on there.
So that was you. That was the other guy.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, he walked up to me and he looked a little beat down and he's like, man, it's like when you were doing freelance and stuff, did you ever have a point where you like worked for like 2 weeks straight? And I was like, yeah, I did it for over 2 years straight. And he just looked at me like he was beat down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because he just went and shot like some crazy trucks out in the country or somewhere. I don't know. He stays busy. But what I told him, I'm like, look, you just shot a whole set of images again today. Like, unless you shot like for timing or something that like something that has to get turned in right away, like go home and edit those or whatever. But from today, pick your like 3 favorite pictures that you took today and edit those and leave the rest for tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, okay. Because I'm like, look, you're going to get burnt out. I'm like, I know you love to take photos, but it's going to happen to you because it happened to me. It happens to all of us. But what you can do is pick your favorite 2-3 images, work on those as long as you want, and then leave the rest for tomorrow. Like this way, you're happy about what you did, you feel accomplished, and you're kind of it rejuvenates your excitement for what you shot. And he was digging it, so I'm like, just do that tonight. Like don't worry about the rest of the pictures. We don't need them right away. And so he was pretty stoked. And that's something that like I used to do as a wedding photographer because like I'd be just beat from shooting all weekend. But the brides always want, they want a sample or whatever. And I'd be like, fuck, dude, I don't want to edit all these pictures. I just got done with you people. But I would pick like, probably about 5 to 6 images and work on those really good. And then I would use those for social media to try to book more, more stuff. But as far as doing things that are easy, it wasn't necessarily any easier than anything else, but I really wanted to work on those photos. And so that made working on them easier.
Right. Yeah, a lot of times because it's what you want to do, that helps make it easier. Right?
Exactly.
Homework when you're a kid, is kind of hard because it's something you can do, but it's something that you don't really want to do, right? So it'll be easier if you like it. We already know that, right? That's but what you're talking about, what you did is you kind of deconstructed it. Is you took something and you took a lot of work, seemed like a daunting task, but then you broke it down to its simplest form. And no job is too great when you start to break it down into smaller parts, smaller pieces. And that's an important thing to do. When I was listening to this other thing that Muhammad Ali did when he fought George Foreman, I really love this example a lot because when Ali fought Foreman at the time, Foreman was like invincible. He was indestructible. He was too strong. He was too powerful. And Ali deconstructed him from the beginning. And everyone talked about how strong George Foreman was. And Ali right away said he's slow. He's clumsy. He pointed out these other things, right? And he also said, yeah, you know what? I had 3 wars with Joe Frazier. And Joe Frazier beat me once. He knocked me down a couple times. He broke my jaw. He did A, B, and C. But when other people knocked out Joe Frazier, they knocked him out cold. All George Foreman did was knock him down 5 times. When George Foreman fought Ken Norton and when he fought these other fighters, he knocked him down, but he didn't knock him out cold. So he's not nearly as powerful you guys are making him out to be. He's like, I'm Muhammad Ali. I'm the champ. When I knock someone out, they're out. That's it. They don't get back up. Even if what he's saying like isn't even true, he deconstructed the situation and painted a much different picture than what everybody else had in mind. And he said, I'm a boxer. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to box. I'm going to use my knowledge rather than use my strength, and that's going to be what wins. And he did it. And I got to take a pee break, so you got to keep talking.
Oh, jeez. You're really trusting me, huh? Well, that's good. I'm glad you're leaving right now because I got nothing for you guys to say. Well, shit, here we go. If anybody is down with the Nintendo Switch, I want you guys to let me know what you guys think about the new online service thing or whatever. I'm gonna try to convince Mark to play Tecmo Bowl with me, because that's a whole, whatchamacallit, feature of it all, and I'm pretty stoked about that. But in regards to what we're talking about right now today, about like motivation and whatnot, for you Slim Jims out there, I'm talking about to the skinny dudes that are trying to gain weight. Hopefully you guys have been paying attention to what Mark and I have been doing. I've been training with Mark since basically since day one when he started doing the bodybuilding show. It's been kicking my ass. It's been a whole lot of fun, and I'm happy to announce that I've gained, let's see, it's been 3 months now. I've gained basically 3 pounds. I know that doesn't sound too crazy, but how many of you listening right now that have had a hard time gaining or maintaining weight, how many of you would be down for an extra 3 pounds right now? So I was telling them how we've been training for like whatever 3 months, and it's a pain in the ass for me to gain weight. But how many people out there would be down to gain 3 pounds right now? That's essentially what I've gained this whole time.
Right.
It's because I was running out of shit to say. I started talking about Nintendo Switch and whatnot. But no, dude, it's like I was getting really frustrated, but at the same time, I'm like, well, hey, like go back 3 months ago, and if I could weigh a little bit more, I would be so down. And it's because of that consistency.
And again, if you kind of deconstruct the situation a little bit and think, oh, it's only 3 pounds, or you can think, shit, man, it's 3 pounds. Imagine if there was another 3 pounds. Like if there was another 3 pounds, that'd be 6 pounds. Now, if we're talking about 6 pounds in 7, 8, 9 months, like that's a lot of weight. What if that happens again? Like what if that continues to happen, and what if in a year you gain 10 pounds?
Yeah,
that's a lot, and that's a good pace to gain weight at, because you don't want to gain, like if we really wanted to, we could have you weigh 20 more pounds, but we're not going to get a result that looks good.
Yeah.
We have you eating pretty healthy. You're doing a good job with your food choices and stuff. And so, we don't want to like just all of a sudden have you be like all bloated and shit.
Yeah, that would suck. I kind of did something like that last summer, and I didn't feel great. But this time around, training with you and like learning everything from you it's been awesome. And the numbers on the bars are going up. So I'm ecstatic about that. But I hopped on the scale and I'm like, fuck, dude, like this is just not happening. What's going on here? But like I was saying earlier, it's like, dude, it's not much weight, but it's more than what it was. So it's obviously working.
Right. And again, if you want to gain more, then we can throw in a little bit more food. But I think if we gain too rapidly, we got to also be careful, because sometimes you have a hard time. Well, not sometimes. You oftentimes have a hard time digesting stuff too. So it's like, man, if we start throwing too many things at you, like we might, your whole day might be on the toilet, right?
Yeah.
Which that wouldn't be great
happens
either.
all the time.
But the things that are easy to do, everyone has kind of a different, or people. A lot of what we've talked about today these are all going to be things that you're going to have to sit down and try to make sense of yourself. And you're going to have to, I hope oftentimes when you listen to this podcast, you don't just listen to it and you don't have any time to absorb it. I would suggest that a lot of times when you listen to podcasts that I do, that we do, that are specifically like this, that you sit down with a pen and paper and you start to write down, you start to take notes on some of this stuff, because this information is really, really critical to your personal development. And you should have a journal and you should be keeping track of these things. Write down the date, write down the time, write down where you are, write down, because when you look back 2 or 3 years from now, having this information could be really critical. And Andrew talking about weight gain and talking about some of these things, it might be a good idea for him to keep a food journal, which may not have all the food in it all the time, but has some of the design of the diet in there, has some information about the training, and it just has the month and has the year. And when you go back and you look at it, you can say, oh man, when I did that, I gained 3 pounds. I gained 3 pounds, and how many months has it been?
So I've just at the very beginning of your show prep, basically. So I think that was like almost 3 months ago, or
Yeah, that's super short period of time, by the way.
it just, but
Yeah.
if you were to tell me like, hey, in 3 months, if you work out basically every day and you eat,
Yeah.
3 to 5 meals every day, you're gonna gain 3 pounds, buddy.
Right.
At the time, I'd be like, yeah, I'll take it, but man, that sounds like a lot of work for 3 pounds.
Yeah.
But that's just what it takes for me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and everybody's a little bit different. But even for myself, like, when that transformation of 5 or 6 weeks or whatever it was, when we got that shot of Hani from behind, when we did the podcast, and then we were in that gym, and I was super jacked. My body weight change was not that much either, and my change from when he was actually here to being on stage, I think it was like I think I weighed 5 pounds less was all that it really was. But, the look is also a lot different. But, there's a lot of things that, that go into all that. And there's a lot of things that, the actual shape and that you're in, it can be quite a bit different than the actual body weight. There could be smaller things kind of transforming. But anyway, people, you need to sit down and actually think about these things, and you should start to kind of develop some ideas of your own of what these things mean. You're trying to find what it is that you want to do. You want to try to find what it is that you like to do. Try to make sense of some of these quotes I've shared with you. Try to make sense of some of the stuff that I told you about Muhammad Ali. Try to make sense of some of the things we shared today with you about Dana White. Try to make sense of holding on to these dreams. Try to make sense of practicing and testing your will and your work ethic. How are you going to do that? You need to do that every day. In order for you to do anything, you need to stay healthy. You need to stick to your plan. You need to stick to these things that you want to do. You need to hold on to your dream, but you can't hold on to your dream unless you're healthy. So you have to take care of your health. You have to figure out some form of a diet, because if you're not, you don't have to diet to have a six-pack. But you need to be healthy in order to kind of keep any of these hopes and dreams alive. If you're not healthy, and your health includes everything from your mental health to your physique, to your strength, everything. You need to work on getting stronger. You need to work on being mentally tougher. You need to work on feeling better, because if you don't feel good, you're not going to want to do anything. If you feel depressed, if you feel sad, if you feel mad, if your ankle hurts and your knee hurts, then you're not going to want to do anything. So you have to take care of your nutrition. You have to figure out ways, and it doesn't mean that you have to eat perfectly every day. To maintain your health is not hard. It's not hard. It's easy. And the definition of easy for me, which I've been dwelling on this for a long time, but the definition of easy for me is just things that you can do. Squatting 1,080 was easy. I did it. I squatted it. I took it down and I squatted it. What's my definition of things being easy? Things that I can do. What's your definition of easy? Maybe your definition looks a little different. Maybe your definition is I did this without a sweat, right? Maybe that's your definition. Maybe everybody's definition can be a little bit different, but it should be just things that you can do. That keeps it really simple. I either could do it or couldn't do it. Can you wake up every day and run 5 miles? If you can't, if that doesn't seem easy, and that doesn't seem like something that you can manage or maintain, then let's not write that down. if you can wake up every day and figure out one thing that you can do for yourself, figure out one thing every single day, every single morning, one thing, just one thing that you can do for yourself every single morning, what would that thing be? And make sure that whatever that thing is easy. For me, I wake up, it takes me too long probably to get out of my house, but I get my ass out of my house and I go walk for about 20 minutes. And today I ended up doing two of those walks. I did one walk at, around 5:30 in the morning, and I did another walk probably closer to 8:30 or so. Because I just was looking at the clock and I was like, yeah, looks like I could sneak in another walk. I feel good. I have a little bit of downtime here before the crew comes over, before we shoot this commercial. And I didn't think about it for too long, because thinking about it for too long is going to slow you down too much. I got out the door and I walked. And it's easy to do. Becoming wealthy was easy for me. It wasn't hard. One of the reasons it was easy for me is because I had, reason number one that it was easy for me is because of where we live. We live in the United States. I don't have a lot of things blocking me from being free enough to think of the things that I thought of in order to do all these things. Again, the things that are easy for me are the things that I've been able to do, or things that I feel are fairly comfortable for me to do. And you're going to have to start to determine that for yourself. But as I said earlier, find the things that are easy to do and repeat them. Find the things that are easy to do, that are helpful to you, and do them often. That's not hard to do. Now, along the way, things are going to fall apart. Along the way, your heart's going to be broken. Along the way, you're going to have pain. You're going to have sorrow. You're going to have all these things. You can turn that pain into power. You can turn that pain into motivation. You can take all these things that harm you and that are against you, and you can use them as fuel to continue to get better. I heard a quote the other day, and I'll share this with you too. The guy said, "My I can is higher than my IQ." Meaning, like, who cares about how smart you are? Just have some fucking will to do something. Just be, strong-headed about something, want to get something done, want to accomplish something. And one thing that I think sometimes I'm worried about is when I see people that don't really want to do anything. That's where I sometimes get frustrated. When I see somebody who's gaining weight, when I see somebody who's getting heavier, and they're a young, capable human being, I might get frustrated, and I might say, man, I'd like to see more from that person, just because, like, there's just no reason for them to be that way. But it's having perspective into their life. Who knows what's going on in their life? But for me, when I'm looking at it from an outsider looking in, I'm thinking, man, it's actually kind of easy. Eating healthy every single day of your life and all the time isn't very easy to do. Managing your weight, though, is easy to do. We need to get that in everybody's head right now. Managing your body weight is not hard. It's easy to do. Getting in some form of exercise is not hard to do. It's easy. It's not hard. It's easy. It's easy. You need to convince yourself of that. It's important that you convince yourself of that. Being healthy is not hard. It's easy. Not being excessively overweight is easy. Falling victim to eating some ice cream here and there is hard. Right? It's going to happen. Like, you're going to make bad choices. You're going to make bad decisions. You're going to eat some ice cream. You're going to eat some buffalo wings. You're going to eat some Doritos. You're going to fall victim to these things. We already know that. That's not anything that we're even trying to discuss. We're just trying to discuss the things that are easy to do. And a lot of these things are easy to manage. And that's what I wanted to share with you today. And hopefully you guys are understanding that. And hopefully you are, when we are doing these podcasts, hopefully you are writing these things down, because I think they can really help you advance.
And then whichever little gem that you like most, this is partially kind of trying to advertise, but partially not. If you tell somebody about it, it'll help you remember it and help you put it into action too, whatever it is. Not necessarily speaking about what you're not going to do, Not that, but I
Yeah,
just mean like whatever, like the quote from Muhammad Ali. Like that'd be sick to tell a homie that.
right. Yeah, that's 100% true. Like, once you kind of put some of these things, once you kind of put some of these things out there in the atmosphere, and people kind of understand your hopes, your dreams, people understand what it is that you want to do. Tell people what you want to do. I want to be the best photographer in the world. Tell people that.
Hmm.
It'll make a big difference. But you can't neglect these things that are easy to do. When you were telling Kevin about how you did that for 2 years. I've had many people come up to me and say, "Hey, man, I got a question about, like, you benched 854 pounds. I got a question. When you were benching those bench shirts, did that, like, I remember a bunch of people would used to come up to me back when the bench shirts were popular, and they're like, you ever get like, you ever get like a lot of pain in your forearms?" And I just wanted to punch them because I'm like, oh my God, you have no idea how much pain. Like, I can't even describe to you how much pain. Like, it's just the pain was excruciating. It fucking killed. But the pain wasn't, it wasn't anything that was going to deter me from continuing onward and from doing it. The pain was part of it.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, I'm going to handle more weight, more and more weight all the time, and I want to bench press this weight. It's, I knew that it was going to hurt. Um, but at no time did it make me want to, did it deter me from doing what I wanted to do? You force yourself to kind of do these things on a daily basis. And yes, at times it was hard. It's at times it was so painful that it was hard to press forward on it. But when you don't neglect the things that you're supposed to do, you end up getting the result that you want. So these things that are in front of you, you know what you're supposed to do. People know what's good for them. They know that going for a walk is healthy, and then they just decide not to do it. Um, People know that being on their phone for too long is not healthy, but they choose to be on their phone too long. Um, it's just, and again, I get frustrated when I see it because I'm like, it doesn't have to be that way. And then someone be like, yeah, but Taco Bell is so good. Yeah, Taco Bell is great. I totally understand. I'm not saying that you can't eat Taco Bell. I'm just saying that if you want to eat Taco Bell, you need to train.
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
you need to like earn it. Like, go do something. And then people always want to celebrate everything too. And it's like, what are you celebrating? You haven't even done anything. Like, oh man, thank goodness it's Friday. Why? You didn't do shit all week anyway.
Right.
You didn't work hard in the first place, homie. Like, you got to pick your shit up. You weren't doing nothing all week, and now you want to celebrate something that you didn't even accomplish anything. And it's really frustrating when you see it. You just see it time and time again. And as you grow older, you start to recognize these things more and more. And you're just like, man, what is going on with people? Like, this really sucks.
Hmm.
And then you start to kind of understand, okay, now I get it. Now I understand why that guy complains all the time. Because his life does kind of suck. Because he is kind of a loser. Because he's not putting in the effort that he should. And he knows it. He knows that he's not doing the things that he's supposed to do when he's supposed to do them. He's not doing the things that he doesn't want to do when he doesn't want to do them. and
Hmm.
and so therefore he's stuck. He's stuck. He's in this perpetual motion of just kind of being in this damn circle.
Just going through the motions.
He's going through the motions and he's going to be stuck there forever. So don't get yourself stuck. Find what it is that you want to do. Stick it out. Work hard. All the same shit that you always hear all the time, but hopefully I broke it down for you a little bit differently. Deconstruct some things. Be like Muhammad Ali. Don't let, like, back to that thing with George Foreman. George Foreman was knocking out everybody. George Foreman, he knocked down Joe Frazier, I think like 5 times in one round before they said, enough, man. We saw enough. Like, you kicked his ass. We get it.
Hmm.
And they called the fight. And then when Ali fought him, they were like, you know what? Ali's getting old. He's going to get his ass kicked. Foreman's going to destroy him. Foreman's going to kill him. And Ali just said all the opposite things. He said all the opposite things. And before they even fought, he was getting interviewed, and he said, I called Joe Frazier this. I called Sonny Liston that. I called Ken Norton. He had a nickname for each guy. And he's like, you know what I'm calling George Foreman? He's like, I'm calling him the mummy because he moves like a damn mummy. He moves slow. He's big. He's dumb. I'm going to be way faster than him. He's like, he moves around like this, and he's moving all slow and everything. He's showing you how he's going to throw these wide punches. He's like, I don't fight like that. He's like, I'm going to be sticking and moving. He's like, I float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. He's not going to be able to hurt me. He's not going to be able to hit me. And then when he got in the ring with him, those of you the boxing fans know what happened, but he did the rope-a-dope thing where he just stayed on the ropes most of the time. And he used the science of boxing against George Foreman to wear him down. They got into like the third round or so, and Ali realized that Foreman's punches were losing a little bit of zip to him. He stayed on the ropes the entire time. I think it was around the fourth or fifth round. He told George Foreman, he said, "Is that all you got?" And George Foreman was like, "Holy shit, that is all I have." And if you watch the fight and you watch the first few rounds, Ali's really throwing some really like hard stinging punches with this kind of look on his face. Like if you really watch the fight again, as we're kind of watching it here, he's really throwing some punches with some hard intentions, which is kind of uncharacteristic of Ali, because a lot of times, although he was trying to knock your ass out, he would throw a lot of punches that were a little bit more accurate than they were powerful. But once he realized he could absorb some shots, and I think Ali also realized that he wasn't as fast as he was previously, and so he kind of had to stay on the ropes. But once he realized he can lean on these ropes and he could absorb these punches, he realized that Foreman's punches were getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And there was a point in the fight where Ali, says to Foreman, he says, "That all you got?" And it just took everything out of Foreman. It just absolutely killed him. I mean, you might as well just knocked him out right there. And I think Ali ends up taking over the fight in like either the 8th or the 10th round or so. But we're watching some footage here. Foreman's throwing some bombs, but he's not really landing anything that harmful. He's landing a couple shots, but it's not all that bad. And, the rest is history. Ali takes care of him and knocks him out just as he said. But he deconstructed, like, if this guy can deconstruct this unbeatable character, then you should be able to deconstruct your day, break down your job, break down the things that you're supposed to be doing, and you should be able to make them not seem so hard, not seem so daunting. You want to lose 20 pounds. Okay, losing 20 pounds is not necessarily easy, but just because it's not easy doesn't mean that it's hard. Andrew, could you lose 20 pounds? I mean, you don't have a lot of body weight to lose, but if you had to, could you lose 20 pounds?
I believe so, yeah.
Do you know that do you know anything that is in your body that that you have that wouldn't allow you to lose 2 pounds?
Oh, no.
Right.
Yeah,
so,
no, not at all.
So you know that you can lose weight. We know that you can gain weight. And you hear people a lot of times they'll say, I can't lose weight." Well, you have trouble losing weight, but you can't lose weight because you just told yourself that you can't. That's an amazing knockout, by the way. The way he turns him around on those ropes and everything is unbelievable.
That's actually the first time I watched, like, not the whole fight, but like that recap that way. I never actually noticed the way Foreman was just like throwing haymakers to his body.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, and he's just taking it. I didn't know it was that. I mean, I don't want to say lopsided, but like the fact that he like could not do anything, like that's so frustrating.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Well, Ali also, when Ali was also kind of deconstructing this, I'll send you that too. I'll send you that interview too, and we will. I can't attach it right now because I won't be able to find it, but we'll attach it to this podcast so you guys can listen to that, because I think it's important that you guys that are listening and that are fans of the show, that you guys are understanding some of the things that I'm figuring out and getting motivated and hyped up with some of the same information that I'm getting. But he also, Ali says, basically, who cares how strong he is? I'm not going to get hit by those punches anyway. And it's like, man, and Ali does get tagged by a lot of those shots in the fight because he's not as fast as he was when he was younger. But um, what an amazing thing to do! You just burst everybody's bubble. They had this theory, right? They had this big theory going in. This is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's way stronger than you. He's knocked out everybody, and he has a really, really powerful punch, and he's going to hurt you. He's going to jack you up with these punches. And then you sit down for an interview, and you say, nope. You know why that's not going to happen? And they say, why? Because he's not going to be able to hit me. I'm too fast. I'm too good. I have better footwork than him. He's a mummy. He moves slow. He's clumsy. He doesn't have the footwork that I have. And then what does that do to the room? What does that do to everybody in the room? Everybody in the room goes, oh my God. Maybe he's right. And then he made point after point after point where he just took it so far that it wasn't just one guy interviewing him. There's probably 100 people in that room listening to Muhammad Ali. That one guy in the room becomes a believer. Ali's believing it more because this guy's into it. Now everybody in the room, there's like an energy, there's an aura in the room that is allowing Ali to kind of build this story. Well, not only that, it's interviewed for TV. It's an interview for TV. He's on like ABC. Mm-hmm. He's on like Wide World of Sports. Mm-hmm. So how many people see that? 500,000 people? 1 million people? I don't know. A couple million people see it. And now everybody that thought that Ali was going to lose now at least has the suspicion that, shit, man, maybe Ali's right. I don't know if he's going to lose. He'll probably actually, well, he always wins, so he'll probably actually win, right?
Yeah.
And then what did that do to Foreman? They had to kill him. And then the whole thing was in Africa, and Ali got everybody behind him. And, I mean, it was just, actually, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of a different fight. I don't think that one happened in Africa. I can't remember. No, that one did happen in Africa, I think.
Rumble in the Jungle, right?
Anyway, no, I could be getting confused. I could be getting mixed up because that might have been with Frazier. I think that was with Frazier, the one that was in Africa. But anyway, it throws everything for, well, we should look it up.
Yeah.
But it throws everything for a loop. And, when you put stuff like that out there in the universe and you believe it and you get other people to believe it, that's a huge thing. That's a very powerful, powerful thing. Just keep chipping away and keep getting those things done. And, just keep that in mind. Like, nothing has to be, these things don't have to be hard. Gaining weight's not hard. Losing weight's not hard. You may have difficulty doing it, but it doesn't mean that it's hard. It may not necessarily be easy for you, but it doesn't mean that it's hard.
Yeah, Ali versus Foreman was Rumble in the Jungle in Zaire.
There we go. So he got all of Africa behind him too. He got all of Africa believing in him and thinking that Foreman was crap. So there you go. Anything else, Andrew?
No, well, I was just thinking about that when McGregor was going to fight Mayweather.
McGregor.
Yeah. And he just came out with a new whiskey, by the way. I don't know what that's going to taste like, but who knows? He had a mural painted in his gym of him knocking out Mayweather. So every time he walked into the gym, he saw it. Every time he walked out of the gym, he saw it. So he was trying to, just believe it himself.
Yeah.
But I remember that's when I was like, nah, like he probably can't, he can't. Watching his training, just like, shit, maybe he can.
Yeah.
So what you were just saying right now about like the interview, like the conversation started like, nah, he doesn't have a chance. And then it ended with like, well, shit, man, it is McGregor. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
So.
No, that happened. I mean, that was the most ridiculous example of that too, because how the hell was Conor McGregor going to beat one of the greatest boxers of all time in boxing?
Yeah.
Right? It just, no one really thought it was possible. And then they started listening to McGregor and they were like, oh, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And McGregor did everything he could, and it was a fairly lopsided fight.
Mm-hmm.
But he went in there and he showed that he had a lot of boxing skill. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It was fun to watch.
It was fun.
It was definitely fun to watch. McGregor's got to be fighting pretty soon, right? That big fight's got to be coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, I don't know the exact date, but it's coming up. He's been shredding. He looks crazy right now too.
Getting all leaned out and all ready to go.
Yeah, he's a savage.
All right. Well, we wrapped up a video shoot today. A lot of fun. We got a little bit more work to do on it, but we're working on getting all of our products IPF approved. More information will come out on that very soon, but we went through great lengths on getting the products approved. We're doing that for you guys. We care about powerlifting. We love powerlifting. We know that you guys do too. And so that's what we're doing. You can go on to markbellslingshot.com and you can use the code
Power Project,
and you get 15% off all slingshots. Also, all of our products are available at Amazon Prime.
There you go.
So you can check it out right there too, and you can have a slingshot at your door by right now.
Yeah.
Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Peace.